Welcome back to Scout Report. On the 24th of June 2020, Liverpool beat Crystal Palace 4-0 at Anfield to help secure their first ever Premier League title and their first English top-flight crown in 30 years. 13 months after losing out by a single point to Manchester City, the Reds have capped off one of the most dominant displays ever seen in the English top flight, winning 28 of the 31 games they've contested, gaining on average 2.8 points per game, more than anyone else in the league's history, and building a 23-point margin at the peak of the table, which will also set a new record should they sustain it until the end of the campaign. And in effectively sealing the title against Palace, they exercised the demons of 2014 when an agonising draw at Selhurst Park effectively ended their title challenge under Brendan Rodgers, denying legendary captain Steven Gerrard his best chance to lift the elusive trophy. Gerrard has recently said that current manager Jurgen Klopp should be awarded with a statue outside Anfield, even comparing the job he has done at Liverpool to Bill Shankly and Bob Paisley. If you want to hear the story of how Klopp transformed the club's fortunes over the last 5 years, why not check out our recent episode of Everything You Need to Know over on Football Daily. But here we'll be focusing on how this specific seminal title was won. A winning formula. While Liverpool won the league in such emphatic fashion in 1920, it's not hard to remember just how good they were the previous season too. The 18-19 campaign saw Klopp consolidate the Reds as one of the best sides in world football, ironing out the kinks in what was previously a very dangerous but slightly flawed side. The error-prone Loris Karius was replaced by the near-faultless Alisson Becker, while Firmino was brought in to add more control to the midfield. As a result, the side became far more watertight, seeing their goals conceded in the league drop from 38 in 17-18 to just 22 in 18-19. Perhaps even more notable though is that while they conceded over 2 more than their expected goals of 35.75 in 17-18, the same figure read just 29.1 the following season, meaning that they let in 7 fewer goals than their defensive displays warranted with Alisson between the sticks, showing just how important a position it was for the club to resolve. Meanwhile, the defensive work rate of the midfield three and the ability of Virgil van Dijk to get the very best out of all of his centre-back partners allowed Klopp to develop the roles of Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson, turning them into the side's main source of creativity. This gave the team even more width in attack, allowing the front three more time and space to wreak havoc in the box. Their combined 23 league assists accounted for 42% of the side's total for the season, topping the amount managed by Salah, Firmino and Mane by 8. While that ratio has dropped to 36% this term, they've already amassed 20 assists between them with 7 fixtures remaining, with Trent having already matched the record of 12 he set for assists for a defender in the English top flight last term. The English right-back has also upped his chances created per game from 1.7 in 18-19 to 2.6 this season, which for context is more than Thomas Müller manages for Bayern Munich, helping take him and Robertson's combined expected assists per 90 from 0.48 last term to 0.57 in 19-20. Trent's evolution as a creator in the mould of David Beckham has also made the side a more potent aerial threat, giving them an extra option when the opposition doesn't allow themselves to be hit on the break. As a result, no team has scored more headed goals than the Reds in each of the last 2 seasons, whilst headed goals have also made up for over a fifth of their total output during this time, up from 14% to 21%. For context, Burnley, a club associated with this approach, have scored just 18% of their goals from headers this season. So Liverpool's success in 2019 hasn't been down to any major tactical innovations compared to the previous season, and perhaps this should have been expected. After all, the 97 points they accrued in 18-19 is the 3rd highest tally in Prem history. However, it still wasn't enough to win the league then. So what has changed this time round? Before we reveal what's changed, make sure you hit that like button and turn on notifications. And if you're not a subscriber to Football Daily or Euro Football Daily, what are you doing? Go and subscribe to both channels right now. Adaptability. In the summer of 2019, having pipped Liverpool to the title by a single point, Man City did what is generally expected of Premier League champions and strengthened further in the market, spending over 100 million on Rodri and João Cancelo alone. Liverpool, on the other hand, didn't buy a single outfield player, with Jurgen Klopp insisting he didn't consider the club's lack of activity as a gamble, despite this approach being criticised by sections of the fan base and media. It was generally perceived that with no added depth, injuries to any major personnel could well spell for disaster for any hopes of a second crack at the title. However, the one signing they did make, goalkeeper Adrian, proved to be a masterstroke. With Alisson going off injured halfway through the first game of the season, the Spanish veteran had to man the sticks until mid-October, and the side kept up their 100% start to the campaign during this time. While he kept just 2 clean sheets in those 7.5 games, he never conceded more than once in a match, letting in on average 0.8 goals per 90 and making 2 saves per goal conceded. Not the world-class numbers regularly produced by Alisson, but a more than capable backup which the Reds bench would have struggled to provide in previous campaigns. Klopp also did an amazing job masking the absence of Firmino, whose performances had seen him become widely regarded as the Prem's best defensive midfielder alongside Fernandinho and Kante before a cruciate ligament injury kept him out for 8 league games between November and January. The side didn't capitulate or even really suffer without the influential Brazilian winning all 8 Premier League fixtures, which included a run of 6 straight clean sheets, a 5-2 win over rivals Everton and a 4-0 victory over Leicester, who at the time were positioned second. They also beat Salzburg away in the Champions League and won the Club World Cup and increased their lead at the top of the Prem from 8 points to 17. To make up for Fabinho's loss, Klopp experimented tactically during this time. Whereas his side lined up exclusively in a 4-3-3 when the former Monaco man had been fit, in his absence they flicked between 4 different formations, from a 4-1-4-1 with Jordan Henderson sitting in front of a backline to a 4-3-1-2 with Roberto Firmino playing as a more conventional number 10 behind a narrower front 2 of Salah and Mane. Whereas an injury to Aymeric Laporte almost single-handedly scuppered Man City's title challenge, exposing the citizens' soft centre without Fernandinho in the midfield, Klopp has been able to deal with the obstacles thrown his way this term. It may have been a different story had Van Dijk, the fullbacks, or 2 of the front line faced long absences, but Liverpool have still shown themselves more adaptable to adversity than in seasons past, and the performance of their captain has also been a major part. Captain Fantastic. One member of the Reds squad who has been singled out for praise this season in particular is Jordan Henderson. And whilst calls for him to be named the PFA Player of the Year are debatable to say the least, with Van Dijk, Salah, Mane, Alisson arguably all having more influential seasons than him, they've all been performing largely at a level consistent with last season, whereas the Reds captain has really stepped it up this campaign. Henderson has had his most productive season since Klopp took over in 2015, hitting 3 goals and 5 assists in the league. More goal contributions than anyone else in the Liverpool midfield, over half of what Roberto Firmino has managed, having played 500 fewer minutes than the forward. All of this despite filling in at defensive midfield when Firmino has been absent. On the defensive end, he's making 3.9 tackles and interceptions per 90, a figure beaten only by Firmino in the entire Liverpool squad, while he actually wins a higher proportion of his tackles on 65%. And he has become even more key to the side as a distributor this term too. His 5 completed long balls per 90 is only marginally bettered by Virgil van Dijk, and no one in the squad can match his 60% accuracy in this field. He also leads the way for passes in the final third with 7.3 per game and has created more chances than anyone bar the front 3 and the fullbacks. Perhaps it's no surprise then that his expected assist per 90 has jumped from 0.08 in 2018-19 to 0.18 in 19-20. And away from the technical elements of his game, the 30-year-old's leadership has been crucial to the side's imperious form. Klopp's voice on the pitch, it is perhaps unsurprising that the one time they've capitulated this season, that infamous 3-0 away loss to Watford, Henderson was absent through injury. That means the Liverpool captain has lost just 1 Premier League fixture in the last 2 seasons. And since the start of 17-18, the side hasn't lost to an opponent outside the top 6 with him on the field. Furthermore, Liverpool's ability to grind out results in tough matches has never been so evident, with 55% of their games this term ending in a victory by a 1-goal margin compared to just 24% last season and 11% in 17-18. 7 of those 17 victories were also secured by winners in the final 15 minutes, indicating the side has not only been more clinical, but has also possessed the fitness levels and mental strength to get over the line in the final moments. Whilst Henderson can't take most of the credit for this, Klopp, fitness coach Andreas Kromir, and club psychologist Lee Richardson have probably played the biggest part. Hendo's strong presence on the pitch and in the dressing room cannot be downplayed though. 5 years since assuming the captaincy from Steven Gerrard, he has done what his predecessor failed to do in over a decade. And after 9 years of service at Anfield, he's perhaps the most deserving of a winner's medal. So that's it for today's Scout Report. If you enjoyed it, head over to Football Daily and watch Jurgen Klopp's transformation of Liverpool video. It's in everything you need to know. Thanks very much for watching. Click like, click subscribe. We'll catch you next time.